Hey folks, so it's Friday, March 16th. The new software update was released this morning. First things first, so I guess Hammerhead has posted to their own, or to the Facebook page, indicating that they think about 50% of people aren't actually running with the latest software, which may be causing some erroneous reports. So I'm going to quickly just show you how to do this. This was going to be a separate video, but it's actually pretty short. So if you couldn't see there, I pressed settings, and then down the bottom here is about, and then system update, and then I'm up to date now. But if you're not sure you are, and you would click this, you would press that, and it's saying I don't have an internet connection, which is because Wi-Fi somehow got turned off. So let's check that. It's checking for an update. It tells me my system is up to date, and this is version 104.127.3. I think the last one was 109.3. So anyway, so that's the way to check. I actually have some notes here about what's going on, and then we'll quickly scroll through. So there's animated data fields for power and heart rate, and I'm going to show them to you because I'm going to just start this ride, even though mostly because I'm running out of time. It's late in the afternoon, so nothing's really recording yet or registering yet because I haven't woken meters up, power meters and things. But you can see here, these are the visual fields that they're talking about. So there's power zone, which is of course reading 1, heart rates at 1.7, probably because I've been running around while getting home from work trying to get all kit on and get going. And then down the bottom here is intensity factor and TSS, which actually interestingly have little registered trademarks next to them, because those are, I think as I reported at one point, owned by nit-picks. So if we flip over here, this is the map. You can sort of see that the arrow has been made smaller. It's also lower on the screen, or not quite in the center, so it gives a little more of the roadway ahead. And then if you notice that's something that wasn't working before. So you can just keep swiping one way to get through these data fields, and it's basically endless. It used to be that you would hit the end and that would stop. You'd have to go backwards. So that's a really good feature. Something that they indicated was hard to do, or they thought was hard to do, and it just showed up in this update. So it must be easier than they said. So animated fields, I talked about that. Endless app screening, reduced size of the navigation icon, fine-tuning of the ascent-descent, so we'll see how that works. Fine-tuning of the auto pause. I'm not going to run with auto pause right now. Elevation, so they added some data fields, and I'll show, I think I have an elevation specific field, yes, or page. So this is all the different elevation fields. So what they added was min elevation, max elevation, and average elevation. I'm just going to leave that as it is right now. Interestingly, that actually does look like it's showing my current elevation correctly now. But I think that showed correctly before I've taken off for a ride, and then when I get home it's like below sea level, so that's probably fairly accurate. So maybe this has been corrected as well. No idea what that noise was. So they added some smoothness to left-right balance if you have a dual-sided power meter, torque effectiveness. They're putting there's no way you're going to see this, but they're putting the battery percentage in the little battery icon on the bar. It's very hard to see because it's really small, but at least it's there and you don't have to dig down into menus. Hopefully at some point they'll add the actual percentage in the status bar too, or give you the option to have that if you want it. You can actually enable or disable the navigation cues based on profiles if you want to. I'm not sure why you would want to. I mean, if you're not following a route, they don't pop up anyways. So that's interesting. I'm not exactly sure what they're trying to accomplish there. Average power is supposed to be better. Normalized power is supposed to be better. The heart rate zones are now connected to your Karoo account. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm assuming that makes it more accurate. And then there were some other things related to the MAC address, which was showing up oddly on some people's devices, and they added the device name to the fit file. So people have noticed that when you upload to Strava, it doesn't show as being from a Karoo. It just kind of shows nothing. It doesn't. And apparently this is only part of one step, so I don't think when I get back tonight and record this or upload this, if it's going to actually show that. It's apparently there's something they had to do on their end, and then there's also something that Strava has to do on their end, and it also has to do with registering Karoo as a device that contains an altimeter, in this case a barometric altimeter, so that Strava understands to use the values from the device instead of its values just from GPS routes. And then there's some things about bugs addressed on this piece of paper. App crashes, speed drops from ant sensors, time format changing. I didn't actually check that. That should be on this page. I think I've had it set it up for 12 hours. So yeah, so that now looks correct. Before I was getting 24 hours in one place and 12 hours in the other. So that's correct. Oh, my paper's blown away. The waiting for instruction and some other navigation issues they've hopefully cleared up. I'm not going to ride a route today. And they also fixed crashes when recording. It says when recording a ride for 30 minutes plus 12 hours of deep freezing the Karoo. So I'm not really sure what that means. Supposedly they, in their Facebook chat they did yesterday, they did plenty of heat and cold testing, and they don't think that's the reason for the reboots. I have not had the reboots, so I don't really have any feedback on that. So I think that's it for the updates, or the update today. There, like I said, there's some new fields here. I'll try to stop maybe when my heart rate's a little higher and just take a quick thing of this. And it's obviously I can't reasonably record while I'm riding. Just not that coordinated, so I'm not going to try it with the power zone, but I assume that if this heart rate zone is moving, then I'll look at it while I'm riding, but I'm not going to record it, and I'll report back. So this is already 7 minutes long. Just trying to keep this short, but that's got a kind of a long list of things that they updated. So we're going to stop for now. I may pause briefly while riding, and then hopefully that will be actually the end of the video, and unless there's something really interesting to show when I compare the fit files of the Garmin and the Karoo. But talk to you later. Hi folks, so a quick in-ride update. So almost exclusively good news, which I'm really happy to report for once. First up, kudos to Hammerhead for these fields. These are really cool. It's one of the things that attracted me about this device, and I apologize for the wind noise again, but it is always windy where I live. So you can see, obviously the power is at 1 because I'm not doing anything, but this definitely jumped up to 7 when I was climbing or up out of the saddle, really pushing on the pedals. The heart rate zone is dropping, as you can see. The other thing that's cool, and it's probably not showing up very well in the video, is that surrounding colored bar changes color as you go up. So as the power or the heart rate gets into the yellow and the red, the surrounding bar changes color at the same time. And it's a very, very quick visual indicator. Just glancing down, you don't have to read numbers. You almost don't even have to be able to see the screen. It's just a very quick visual indicator that where you are in as far as heart rate and power zones. Map is good. I'll pan up in a second because somebody requested a view of the ocean. This stuff all seems pretty good. Yeah, 25 minutes, 7 miles, 16.4. That looks pretty good. It's starting to get late, so I'm gonna head home. These are not interesting. These are also not terribly interesting. This is the elevation, and I was going to report that this was working great, and then it seems like it's not. So what appears to be happening is that this is drifting, and when I pan up, you'll see I'm definitely more than 6 feet above sea level right now. And it seemed great for a while. I was down by the salt marshes. It was right around 1 or 0. That looked right because it was right where I am was pretty much sea level. But then it started to drift, and for a while I was 20 feet below. So it looks like this is better, but still not quite right. And again, these fields are great. The map looks like it's recording. That gray line is my track. and I'm going to stop this in a second, but I'm going to pan up quick and let you see the water. It's looking a little angry today. We've just gotten through our third nor'easter storm in the last 2 weeks. So as I get to the parking lot here, you can see some of the damage that's been done. There's actually a big pile of wood, and I'm not exactly sure where that came from. It looks like pieces of a house or something that drifted away into the parking lot. But looking a little angry, and the beach is pretty chewed up. This is a north-facing beach, so when we get a nor'easter storm, beaches like this really take the brunt of the wave and the wind action, and then the surf getting pushed up against the beach make it even worse. So maybe this is the end of the video. If so, and you got this far, thanks for watching. Alright folks, I lied. One more short one. Hopefully short. So I was picking on the elevation a little. You can see, I think we started at like 150, somewhere around there. It's back up to 123. I'm in exactly the same spot. So this is a significant improvement. It looks like maybe the calibration is just drifting a little bit. That's the only explanation that I can think of, since I don't know that much about this stuff. Total ascent and descent is close, and it kind of explains the missing 30 feet there. Max elevation 173, I have no idea if that's correct or not. Again, these things are really cool. Again, one of the things that I was really interested in about this device are these, because it does give you a very quick look at the where you are. You don't even have to read numbers, you can just see colors. Map looks good. I did a big lollipop loop. I've done this route before. 15.2 average, 15.4. That actually looks real good. Again, you can see how I'm just looping over. These are the boring fields back to ascent, but you can see how this just keeps going. So we'll hit the pause here. We'll hit the pause on the Garmin. Again, the Garmin is set to auto pause still, so the numbers are going to be different, but that's okay. So really, things appear to be rapidly improving. I've had this device almost a month now, probably three and a half weeks maybe. I got it like 3 Fridays ago, so now it's Friday now. Maybe it's only been 3 weeks, but 3 weeks. I think there's been 3 software updates in that time. There's the Hammerhead logo saying that the ride went up successfully. So I'm going to pause here. May or may not come back. I think since this is a ride video, I may come back briefly and just do a compare, but I'm actually expecting this to be really good. So hopefully that comparison video, probably in Golden Cheetah, and I'll explain the mistake I made last time, is going to be really good. Thanks. Hi folks. So I thought it was only fair that that I record this when things go well. I shouldn't just record this and point out problems and complain. I should call it out when it's good. So again, if it wasn't clear from the video, the good news is that this is rapidly improving. So I'm pretty happy about that. You know, we didn't spend a ton of money on these devices, those of us that got in early. But $300 is still $300, and it's $300 that I could have spent on something else, or a new Garmin or whatever. So first, well, we'll get to it. When I get to it, I'll point out how I totally screwed up in the last video. I think I annotated it a little bit with text, but I'm going to clarify here. So ride duration, I'm assuming this is because of like a slight difference in the pause times. Obviously the moving time is within 8 seconds. That's probably down to just when I pushed buttons. Distance, I guess my only real complaint here is the distance is still off by a quarter of a mile, and it's only a 15-mile ride. I guess I need to check the Garmin and determine if maybe I have the wheel circumference set wrong there. I guess I should have taken a couple of notes to know if the Karoo is always higher or if there's variation in which one is higher.
But anyways, all these numbers on this top row, with the exception of elevation, which we know is maybe a little funky, are the same. Normalized power, this says it's 2 watts difference, but this shows 1 watt, so there must be some rounding going on there. The speed is, yeah, this is average speed, so that's within 0.3 of a mile per hour. Power, the averages here, I think these are chalked up to, and I'll show it again when we get to the graphs, but I'm pretty sure this can be chalked up to the fact that the Karoo, and again, the Karoo is in purple and the Garmin is in blue. I think this can be chalked up to the fact that the Karoo is averaging in zeros. I think that's the real explanation here. Max speed, within 1 mile per hour. Power within 11 watts. That could be just, when each pulled the device, or because the power meter is broadcasting into 2 devices. I don't know if that has any effect. I know other people, DC Rainmaker, has sometimes 4 or 5 head units on his bike at a time, collecting from multiple power meters. So I'm not exactly sure how he does it, but so then again, so here's where I screwed up last week or earlier this week, not understanding what's going on here. So the difference is here, this 5 minutes is because the Garmin is auto pausing, and you'll see it again in the charts. So these are close enough that I'm pretty sure that this is accounted for by the fact that and because it's so close on these upper where I'm actually producing power, this zone 1 difference, and I think the heart rate is the same thing. It's clearly it's purely because of the fact that the Garmin is pausing and the Karoo is not. So the next ride, I think what I'll do is I'm trying to add things in slowly, turning things on and off on the Karoo slowly so I can maybe isolate where there's problems. I didn't like the way I don't like the way the Karoo was doing pausing, and you saw that in the very first video if you watched it. They've supposedly improved that, so it should be better. But so I'm going to try that the next time I go out. So I think, like I said, these are all related to one device doing auto pause and the other just continually recording. So this is where I screwed up the other day, and I was confused about this dropout here. So the reason that the Karoo is recording, the reason that this line continues, this is the heart rate, and the reason the Garmin is flat like this is because the Garmin paused. That's the explanation. That's what I didn't understand initially when I was looking at the data. There are a couple of spikes here. I don't know if this is just the heart rate monitor not sending data or sending weird data. The good news is that the speed here is, and this makes sense because it's the same speed sensor. The speed is right on. The power up here looks like it's right on. In fact, the Garmin looks like it had a little weird spike here that maybe the Karoo didn't. Again, this spikiness that I've talked about a few times, I think this has to do with the whole zero recording thing. So when I'm not pedaling, it looks like the Karoo is recording the zeros and the Garmin is just either smoothing it or not recording at all. I'm not really sure, but because all the other cadence values sort of line up, with the exception of, I guess, when I'm coasting, I'm going to just chalk that up to how the devices are adding in zeros. And then this chart, which I still don't understand, and I need to look up this gear ratio thing. There's got to be some sort of deal with power versus speed versus, I don't know what. This chart looks really close. This is I forget what the value is, but this is basically normalized power. They can't call it normalized power. This chart looks really close. We don't need to look at the map. The stress score, this power chart, again, these are all the average numbers are close enough that, again, here's the weird heart, or what I considered the weird heart rate, but I think this is because the Garmin is dropping out when it's paused. So that may account for this, because all of the rest of these, when you're actually pedaling, this upper part of the chart, when your heart rate, in my case, is up above 125 or 30, these are real close. Speed, again, I don't understand really all this variability, but overall the speed was good, and especially on that ride chart backaways. Cadence is better, even with the potential zeroing. And then these charts are super confusing, and I don't really understand what they're showing me. So, good news, I mean, let's call it like it is. This is much better. So this software update, combined with whatever it is else that they're doing, either on the device or behind the scenes, is causing rapid improvement, which is, again, like I said, I don't want to dislike the device. I spent money on it. I want to keep it. The screen is awesome. Those visualizations that I showed earlier, or that are in the video, where it kind of visually represents your heart rate zones and your power zones, those are really cool, and they have more of them coming. You can go to their website and view some of these, the other kind of data visualization screens. The device did kind of use a lot of battery tonight, and I'm going to chalk that up to the fact that I was watching that data visualization screen basically the whole time, because I thought it's the newest thing and it was the most interesting thing. So that it used like 12% battery, I think, or 16% battery. I forgot to write down the numbers in an hour. But again, I was on that, and I wasn't routing, but I was on that data visualization screen the whole time, basically, because I wanted to watch it. It might be interesting if they gave an option for how often to update that. Like, they have other pages where you can have average speed, 3-second average speed, 5-second average speed. Same thing with power, 3, 5, 10-second averages. Might be interesting if they gave that option. The chart, the little graphic wasn't really bouncing around too terribly. But it was bouncing around some, and it might smooth it and maybe cause it to not have to refresh the screen so often if it was based more on a longer time average. But I'm really splitting hairs at this point, because it's a cool thing to watch, and it's very interesting, and it's easy to see when you're, I can especially imagine that it'll be useful in the summertime when you're doing, interval training, and you're essentially bleeding out your eyeballs trying to get these intervals in. You can just very quickly look down and see what zone you're in, and how correlate that to how bad you're feeling when you're doing some of these training. So that's it. This has turned out way longer because I can't stop talking, but if you got this far, again, thanks for watching.